It's a beautiful moment. I had a beautiful Lionsgate event happen. It's called The Portal, and the recording is now available for you if you are interested in that. I can absolutely share more information after this. Just drop a DM into my inbox. But what really came up was this really big theme around sovereignty. And sovereignty to me really means being able to discern energetically, and firstly energetically and also mentally, of what feels true for you. And for today's topic, it is really interesting because I saw a lot of people really RSVP'd, and I see that people are actually coming in very quickly. So this is a huge topic for sure. And so I really want to bring a very, almost like I feel like something that hasn't really been addressed often when it comes to talking about trusting and following where your spirit guides you, where spirit leads you. Now, first and foremost, before I begin, I want to say that everything I say here comes from a direct experience and direct contact. Anything that goes beyond, if it's something I've read or I've heard from a master or my teachers, I will mention, because it is very, it's for me to stay in integrity that I fully am somebody who follows the way of direct experience. Very much in Buddhism, it's often said, you know, like the Buddha always would say he will not speak about certain things. Like if a disciple came up to him to ask, like, is the universe infinite or finite? He wouldn't talk about it, because it really does not matter, in the sense that if you are mentally attached to that idea but you don't have a direct experience to that, then it will only cause suffering, because you will continue to run in circles in your head. And I think that is largely an issue in today's society, where we live in a very mentally stimulated place. What that means is that, you know, we can turn on our television, we can turn on our phones, and we can scroll, and we have things happening to us, and we're taking in information at such a rapid rate. But the mind would have this illusion that you have experienced it through reading something, through looking at an image, looking at a video, but you didn't actually have a direct experience with that experience. And because you didn't, I could tell you infinite numbers of things, but you wouldn't actually know what it feels like, right? Everyone on board with me so far? So I really want to start off with asking you to contemplate and really answer from what is arising for you in this present moment. Not from what someone else told you, not from what you read on Instagram, not from what you heard on YouTube, all the things, but what is emerging from you, okay? So can we make this promise with each other at this point going forward, okay? And I would love for you to engage with me in the comment section, because I love being able to answer your questions. It gives me a clearer sense of what will serve you, because otherwise I'll just go on and on in my Dharma talk. That's how I am. And I of course know that I can energetically feel into what's going on, but I also would love to converse with you, because you are real human beings. You're not, you know, you're not simulated AI. And even with AI these days, we can have a conversation, right? So let's get intimate, okay? Let's get really honest. Let's be very clear that we are sitting in a place here that is non-judgmental. I'm not higher than you and you're not lower than me. I'm not lower than you. I'm not, all those crap that we always get stuck in the head. I'm really merely here to share, okay, what I know from a direct experience with everything I'm going to share, basically. And if there's ever an opportunity that we get to walk even further, I am the guide and the mirror of your consciousness. That's what I do best. I'm here to mirror your consciousness and where you can go even higher. That's really it. And I love going to the depth of your soul with you, because that is our journey, all of us here. We are walking back in remembrance of who we really are. And the first question I would love for you to sit with right now is, what does spirit mean to you? What does spirit, when I say let spirit lead, follow where spirit leads you, what does that actually mean to you? How does that look like? Let that arise out of you. Maybe a moment where you have had before, or envisioning, imagining how it would feel like when spirit leads you. What does that look like? How does that feel like? Okay, take a moment to share that with me, whether you're watching now or on the replay, like that doesn't matter. You can always drop that into the comment section and let me know. Okay. Because we cannot go further on this subject if we're not clear on this. What does that actually mean? Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna play a little music in the background as I pause and wait. Okay. On the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand, and I will call upon your name, and keep my eyes above the waves, where oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Your grace inbounds the deepest waters. Your soaring hand will be my guide. Okay. Hello, beauty. Hello, hello. All right, all the new joiners, just saying we are tapping into what it means, and I want you to really delve into this. How does it feel when spirit leads you? What is this? How does it feel like? And for those who have answered, what does it feel like? What does it feel like for you? Okay. Put that in the comment section. What does it feel like when spirit leads you? Okay? seeing some of your comments here as well on Instagram and Insights Timer at the same time. Taking a deep breath. Deep breath. Take an abdominal breath. If your diaphragm feels really hard, try to inhale. And when you exhale, go and sink your diaphragm down. For everyone else who is okay with taking an abdominal breath, take an inhale in and let it land deep into the space below the navel, into the hips, pelvic bones. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go deep. Let your perineum open up. Release any tension. And see if you can release all the tension in your gluteal muscles. Let your buttocks sink. See your energy going down your thighs. Traveling down, opening up your knees. Let them go through. Release your shin bone muscles all around it. Let the energy go through into the soles of your feet. Okay. Direct your attention now further below where you're seated. For those who are saying you have no idea what it feels like when spirit leads, let yourself be held. Let yourself be held in this very moment and trust the process. Guide your mind into the space below where you're seated or standing. Or even if you're lying down, that's perfect too. Drop your mind into this ocean of darkness. And see if you can stretch. Stretch further. Go deeper. How far can this darkness go? Let's take a chance, shall we? As we travel together. Let's reach to the furthest corners. See how far we can go, how deep we can go. Go deeper. If you thought if you've gone deep enough, go deeper. Can you let yourself go completely to this place? Can you feel something rising within you in this space that is almost like this beautiful embrace of angelic wings hugging you as you swim in this nothingness? And if you struggle to let go in this space of nothingness, breathe. Breathe and see, explore. Let's go a little bit deeper, shall we? Breathe deeper. Go to that secret emerald city at the heart of Mother Earth. There is a secret city right here that only the ones who are open, whose heart is open, can fully access. Are you willing to open your heart today? Can you feel the energy coming back to life in your heart? So much so that it begins to generate a pure golden light in the chambers of your heart. And with this light, you can begin to see. In the darkness, there is nothing to be afraid of. You begin to see 1, 2, 3 doors, 4 doors, more doors appearing, so many that you lost count. Let this infuse you with more radiance, and as you have more radiance, you channel more light in your heart. And with more light, you cut through the density and you see a center, a seat in the center of the field. And you enter. You walk towards the seat in the center of the field. You can fly towards it. That's all good as well. Move with the light in your heart. Let that be your guiding star. Some of you may choose to ride a dragon. Some of you may choose to fly. Some of you may choose to transform into a dragon yourself. Whatever that is, nothing is too wild. Let that take form. Go to the center of the field. The seat awaits. The divine seat for the royalty that you are awaits. Come through. And as you take your seat, feel the solidity of the seat. Feel the power of being solidly anchored in the center of the field. And look out to see the multiple doorways that surround you. All the doorways, they sparkle like jewels and diamonds in the night sky. And as you look deeper, go look, just observe with a curiosity. Some of the doors seem to have a greater resonance with your heart. There is a key and there is a door, and that key unlocks some of the doors, and some they don't budge. And it's okay. You move to the next door when that happens. And there are doors that you have opened and you realize halfway through the journey that it is an initiation. And so this journey, this kind of doors, they teach you, they awaken you to your greatness, to your wholeness, awakening you to the truth of who you are, this eternal presence, this luminous soul, the infinite one, the fractal of the divine. Everything you think you don't know, you do know. When you remember that you are not the mind, and the fun thing is, you don't need to do this alone. You get to travel with fellow seekers of the way, with the knowing that all is ever flowing, all is ever expanding, all is ever evolving. And all that we release, that we say goodbye to at some point on the journey, they get to be our greatest blessings. A divine coming back into human form. Breathe in now. Remember yourself as you come back into human form. Remember that you chose to come here so that you get to experience life, taste life, smell life, love life. When you open your eyes, you open your sacred eyes. Can you feel the truth that you do not need to separate the seen and unseen world? That you are the one who brings the spirit. You are the soul. How would you like to leave a legacy that you have lived? As the new ancestor, somebody who fully went with where spirit leads you. Spirit, God, source, the divine, the universe. Call it what you want, but know this. It is within you. It's not outside of you. It is part of your wholeness. Can you feel this in you? Everything mental, everything physical, they are impermanent. But you as the soul, you are eternal. Now feel into this. Let that be a direct contact. Bring up the moments that you saw the sacred, that you felt the sacred. Perhaps in the most ordinary moments that made it extraordinary. That's spirit brought forth, brought back to life in your human experience. Call that forward now. Bring that up. That's when spirit led you. Even when you didn't notice. For the ones who are feeling this, can you help support energetically the ones who cannot yet? Let's open our hearts even more into the field. Let this coherent energy move and amplify. Let us all be holding each other. Wherever we are on the level of integration, we are here together on this journey. Let our hearts sing the songs that all hearts can remember. Universal love. I'm going to read some of the words that some of you have shared here to amplify the energy. Some of the words that describe how it feels like or what it's like when spirit leads and you trust and you follow. The words like a loving parent, soul essence, what is inside of me, intuition, my higher self or best version of myself, that the universe is perfect order and there is effortless flow to life, a knowing that the right answer has come that fits my needs, loving, yummy, trusting, slowly come back into this space and let's have a good chat of how you're feeling, what you saw, how you're feeling, what you felt, all of that good stuff. Thank you, Jane. How are you feeling, Amy, Eileen? If you're still here, if you'd like to share and let us support you. So I want to share that we are primed in a time, a season here in the Northern Hemisphere that is very symbolic of what we are going to talk about, spirit. And there is this beautiful symbolic, and I will speak in mythological terms, symbolic terms, so that your mind can be primed to receive transmissions, downloads, and codes that are not meant to be analytically and logically understood. And this is why for time immemorial, ceremonies and rituals were originally created for humanity to receive the transmission that is not meant to be materialized or taken literally. Yeah, a lot of us can become very lost in the material world, especially when the majority of society oftentimes ask us to literalize things that are not meant to be literalized. And I want you to cast your mind back to how you love to tune into stories. I can't think of a human being, I can't think of a single person who doesn't love stories. When you hear stories, you receive the downloads, you receive the spirit. The spirit of the story will lead you to the next, like a thought, or something shifts in your consciousness, something integrates, right? And there is this beautiful thing in internal alchemy that we study about, which is called Shen. And Shen is a spirit that resides in the heart, and the heart governs everything in our bodies. It governs your organs, your blood. If there's no blood flow, if your heart doesn't beat, you're basically a carcass, you're just a vessel, there's no spirit. And so there's this beautiful myth that the moment a child is born, that moment when the child takes the first breath is the moment when a North Star is drifting and planted itself into your heart space, and the star lights up, and you take your first breath and it's shining out of your eyes, it's shining out of your countenance, it's shining out of you, and you break out into a wail or a cry. Yeah. And through time, that Shen can be amplified, or most of the time depleted, through experiences that are not favorable, maybe even parents who are oftentimes very much imperfect in themselves. And we take those external experiences on and take it so personally that it starts to stack up. And what happens is the mind and the heart begins to separate. The mind begins to think it's working on its own, and it starts to take over the entire vessel, when the heart is actually the one that governs everything. It's kind of like the prime minister took over the emperor's job, you know? And the mind starts to override everything that your intuition is saying, everything your heart is saying. And if you think about how external circumstances begins to even prime the mind that starts to work on its own to protect itself, and externally people are actually encouraging that, what happens? What's going to happen? It actually becomes more righteous. It's like, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm a fighter in my life, I'm a black sheep, you know, all the things that the mind does, right? And it stops taking risks, it stops adventuring, it stops exploring, because now all that it's focused on is to protect, to defend, to make sure you are right, to make sure you don't fuck up, right? To make sure that you get to where you are looking at going, because somebody else has said, somebody else's goal is everything to you and you want their approval, right? Or make sure I don't do the wrong thing, or the thing that you know is authentically you, but you think it's the wrong thing because that will cause others to ostracize you. You know, I can give you so many examples, and all these things it's happened to me before. Okay. And now you go through life with this huge fortress that gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And as more things happen to you, you get more and more mired in this mentality where you have to work harder to cope with that weight. Heavy head, right? Headaches, all of these are symptoms, physical symptoms of a lot of chi in the head. And you're hardly even actually feeling anything. Like, I'm talking about feeling like a sensation in your body that is very subtle, which is how spirit communicates with you, to the point that something dire has to happen for you to actually hear it. So maybe you got a stroke, maybe you broke a bone, maybe you got a stomach ache, maybe you got PMS, maybe you got IBS. Yeah, things that happen that begins to slow you down. And here's the crux of the thing that I'm talking about. When something like this happens, it really almost always means that your energy dissonance has become so palpable that it's become physical. Because remember, energy is formless. It can come in many different ways, especially when we are very devoted to meditation, when we actually have a meditation practice, ceremonial practice, communion with spirit and communion with nature, right? It's very quick for us to discern any energetic misalignment. But if you are not in that place and you're always going and going and going, and you're analyzing and you're out there and you're always out there and you're always doing this and you're coping and you're trying to fix your trauma and you're trying to heal, you're trying to what happens is you forget the very essence of who you are, who you really are. And all you're doing is it's kind of like a burst pipe, and you're just trying to cover up this part, and then another part bursts, and then that part bursts, you try to cover this up, and then another part bursts. And that oftentimes look like numbing, you know, distracting yourself, not expressing your truth, yeah, suppressing. A lot of times we even do this unconsciously. And I've been there myself many times. We think, well, I don't want to think about it for now. I'm going to just Netflix and chill. And then I'm going to ask you to do this right now as well. Things that have happened maybe even 20, 30 years ago, if you think about it right now and it brings up a feeling in your body, I can instantly catch that and tell you that you never dealt with that. You haven't fully reconciled that. You haven't fully integrated that into your wholeness. Because the one thing I want to say before I go forward with this, and I can see your comments and I'll reach out to you shortly, is that you're not broken. When we talk about healing, the most important thing right now to define is that healing is this journey back to wholeness. Healing is like equivalent to remembrance, remembering who you are as the soul who said yes to initiation here in this dimension. Why? Because you want to bring spirit, you want to bring the sacred into life. For those of us, which I have been through myself, where we're so overly spiritualized, and that's also a form of escapism, we want to recognize this, that we're not meant to escape anything in this world, in this dimension. And that comes with full responsibility. When we realize, when we accept, actually, when we remember that we are the creator of our reality, our inner world is reflected in our personal reality. There is no running away from it. That comes with the knowing that we are fully responsible for what we are creating. And a lot of people tend to want to run away from that because they don't want to accept the responsibility. But here's the thing. When you recognize this, and when you commit yourself to this wholeheartedly, no one is forcing you, by the way. You can absolutely, with free will, say, I don't need this. I don't want to know. You can fully come back to a life that is filled with literally the divine dropping love notes everywhere. And speaking of love notes, my beautiful client is right here. And we always talk about this right now. It's like love notes everywhere, divine love notes. And do we go through times that feels really difficult? Yes, but we cut through the density very quickly because now we're able to see that in the darkness of the unknown, our limitless potential is limitless potential. And our job is to recognize which path is aligned with our world, our will. And our will must be aligned with the will of the divine. The will of the divine is not something that, in dogmatic religion speaks of. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the remembrance, because all the divine desires is that you recognize that the divine is not external to you. It is who you are. It desires to be expressed through you. That's it. Have a really brilliant life, being authentic. Go towards what you're passionate about, because that is the direction towards deepening into your divinity, your embodiment of the divine. Yeah? Let me see your comments. And if you're here, please share your thoughts. If you have any comments you want to share, please feel free to do so. Just tapping into some of the comments here. Amy is saying, I feel peaceful and relaxed. Some frustration came up in the middle. That's very, very normal. And to recognize that is huge, by the way. Big pat on the back. Eileen, I have a more analytical mind or literal mind, which conflicts with the feelings that meditation brought up. I'm noticing both are within me. Yes. And the ultimate, I don't want to say goal, because there's no goal. We are all on a journey of mastery. We are all on a journey to remember we are masters. There is an aspect of you that is already a master. Okay? I remember my teacher always said this beautiful thing. It's so funny, actually. I want to share this, is that he had a teacher who would always say, like, you know that I love you just as you are, right? And then he'll be like, yes. And then the teacher would say, okay, now let's get to work. Let's get really good at this. You've got work to do, you know? And that's kind of the vibe. There's an aspect of you that's the master. It's such a waste not to tap into this. And again, I want to re-emphasize that this is not external to you. Whatever that is external to you is a reflection of your consciousness, you as pure consciousness. There's nothing outside of you. So when I speak about source, divine, the universe, it's not something that's outside of you. It's not outside of you. Okay? So I want to get that very clear, because in so many of us, we have had experiences of dogmatic religion that can really literally bring us straight into the external, when what I'm really talking about here is when we have something external. For example, we talk about Isis, we talk about Mary Magdalene, we talk about Guan Yin, Buddha, Jesus, right? They are a symbol. They can be real humans as well, but they symbolize something in you that unlocks a remembrance in you. It's a key to remembrance, okay? So that, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, it's not something your analytical mind can pick up, because your analytical mind, when I talk like that, a lot of times in groups like that, the first thing they will ask is like, was Jesus a real person? Is the universe infinite? Like, that's why the Buddha never wanted to answer that question, because that's not the point. It's not a direct experience of the divine. When you start to spiral into all these questions, when you start to direct your attention outside of yourself. So become aware, track your mind. Whenever you start to externalize your experience and you leave your body, basically, you're literally leaving your body. You're not being embodied anymore, because now you're directing your experience to the external. So, for example, if I asked you, how are you? And then you start to say, oh, life is so stressful. There's construction going on around the city, and there are so many people in the festival coming. There are too many crowds, too many people in the city, and I can't even think of it because I don't have it. But I often hear that, and I can tell you that you already have given your energy away to something that's outside of you. And it's such a waste, because you're literally leaking your energy out, and your mind hangs on that. Your mind loves that. And it's a pattern that's gone very many times that you don't even notice it. So it hangs on it because it's familiar. It's a very familiar comfort zone. It's like I can blame someone else on all the discomfort I'm feeling right here. So I don't need to look at this. I don't need to look at this because it's their problem. If they fix themselves, then I will feel good, right? We have to stop that. We have to stop doing that to ourselves. Because what you're doing is you're giving your power away to someone else. You're saying you have to be like this so that I can be happy. So my happiness is dependent on you. Again, going back to what we talked about, impermanence. Everything that is impermanent is an illusion that is causing you suffering if you attach yourself to that. Okay? Start to track. Bring up maybe even a tracking exercise if you find it really difficult, like Eileen and Amy here. If you want to start tracking where your mind goes to and start to bring it back to the body. Yeah? And bring it back with love. Not in a like, hey, you, you did something wrong, you know. It's bringing it back, because wholeness, what does wholeness mean? Wholeness means integration, full integration. All parts are coming along. No parts are left behind. No parts are left behind. Like no parts. Okay. So Amy is saying that's definitely me right now, trying to heal so many traumas, but I am definitely not numbing. I may be over feeling, if anything. Yes. So if you are, I'm not really sure if I'm getting you correctly, but please let me know. But like, if you are not feeling anything in your body, and that's quite definitely not natural, but normalized. A lot of people don't actually feel anything in their bodies because they are very used to being in their minds, trying to create solution, trying to avoid being with that feeling. So they try to just run off into their mind to fix. Yeah, it's always so much easier to say, let's look at solution, let's go fix, let's go do this, let's go blah, 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 blah. Instead of having a meditative moment, observing what is. And this is oftentimes what the masters and sages often say, like accepting what is. What that really means is observing what is, so that you can neutralize your feeling before you go out there and act, before you take 10,000 actions and nothing actually comes to fruition. Why? Because you didn't even really be with that situation. What is this trying to show you? What is this showing you? That maybe you are not aligned with this workplace. Maybe you're not aligned with this person. Maybe I'm not meant to be doing this. And I'm scared. I'm afraid if I left this job, then I wouldn't have this income. Then what will I do? Blah, 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 blah. The mind runs, right? So it's very important to have a practice, to have a commitment to yourself, because this is how you love yourself. This is what self-love means. To be able to be with yourself so entirely, to hold space for yourself. Okay. Eileen saying all of this relates to me. You really want to to find a way to back home. Yeah. You want to. And when I say that, what I really mean is to be able to feel without judging, to be able to feel any sensations in your body. Because if you're not feeling it, instead you're coming up with emotions, which means like you have a label for it, like frustration, sadness, happy, not happy, angry. Like these are emotions. So emotions need to be stepped down into feeling in the body. Okay, it has to be felt to be transmuted. That's what I'm saying here. Okay, Susie Susan is Susie says tears. Oh my goodness. Amy, I have gotten to the point I just don't want this life anymore. Oh my goodness, sending you so much love. I've been there myself. 100% know that this is, it is your breakthrough point. All, and I would say this, all spiritual leaders, I don't want to say, maybe another word for it is like priestesses, shamans, they all started from being an apprentice, and when they were an apprentice in the ancient days, mystics, okay, let's put it this way, the name, I'm just trying to figure it out so that I don't warp your mind in any sense of the word, but they always had to go through an initiation where they were put in a situation where, you know, they had to really feel the fear of the unknown, the fear of like what it really means like to die. Yeah. And once they show that they have overcome that fear, that's when they are fully initiated into helping others, you know. And I really fully believe that we all of us, if you're right here listening to this, you are here to lead others, but you must lead from the direct experience yourself, not something someone said and then you go out there and regurgitate. I'm really big on this. I have high standards, which is like, I always say, please don't just follow someone else. Like even my words, please feel into it, discern, and feel the feelings that are really coming up for you. And they can be, they can be a multitude of feelings. But the fact that you are here sharing this with us, I know that you do want to live. You do. And you do have a really full expression waiting to live through you. And it is you that gets to decide. You get to choose if you want to do so. And I believe you do. Okay? Can everyone here support Amy a little bit? Give her a little love. Yeah, give her lots of hearts. Okay. Susie saying, dating God, in love with the divine. And Amy saying, but I sit in this waiting for guidance and willing to do what I'm here for, praying for guidance every day. Well, Spirit let you here. Be very aware that guidance is absolutely everywhere, at every moment. Is whether you have opened your sacred eyes to actually see it. Yes, and here's something that I really have walked through and experienced myself. And some of you, if you're new here, I am a Chadao practitioner. I'm a ceremonial keeper. I carry the tradition of Chadao that is in the Chinese lineage. And what this Chadao means is the way of tea. And what that means is not just drinking tea, but actually having something like a receptacle, a ceremony, a ritual that reminds you, right? That gives you back, that gives us a way on days especially that you forget, a way back home to the divine within you. And the quickest way you can really come back into communion with the divine within you is through nature, because nature is who we are. If there's anything that I can say is perfect, right? It truly is nature, because they are, I mean, honestly, even the sacred geometry in a flower, if you look at it, the wave forms in the ocean, the grain of sand, and if you cast your mind out into the night sky, as I was saying to some of my beautiful women that joined me yesterday in the portal, when you lift your head up into the night sky, remember that you are a cosmic being. You literally traveled through different dimensions. There are different versions of you in different dimensions. And you in this physical dimension is here to be initiated into this beautiful journey of sharing your light. And I fully believe that we are all here to really bring the spirit, bring the sacred back into material, such a highly materialized world. When we remember, nobody can take our power away. Nobody can say that a woman's womb is useless. Now go make an egg and produce a child. You know what I mean? Like, we can use AI responsibly because we are sovereign. So we must start to look back inward and start to recognize we are the sovereign being. We are the cosmic being, and that come what may, we know who we are. And this is why I keep pounding upon this concept of you are a cosmic being, because a lot of times when we are stuck in the physical, we forget that this is actually really the tip of the whirlwind. We are that as well as this. We're fully divine and fully human. And again, like I said, when we're not over spiritualizing, because that is also an escape. We want to be fully human, fully divine. And what that means is we are literally the divine expressing itself, the divine tasting the world through us. So I'm the vessel. And sometimes, and my client here, if she's still here, she spoke about, like a ship with a sail and the wind blows, and we're not going to be like the scientists who's like, okay, let's control the wind. How can we stop the wind from blowing? How can we blow harder? How can we amplify it with like artificial intelligence? We're not doing that. We are masters. So we learn, we prepare our mind to merge with our hearts, to bring our intuition to such a high level that we understand where the wind is coming from, and we adjust our sail accordingly. And we don't fight it. We understand there is a bigger plan when it blows a different way than we thought it will. We expect the unexpected, because that is where the greater vision is born. Something that goes beyond the mind, because the mind only knows what it knows. Understand? The mind only knows what it knows, and you're the only one who can say, I'm fully responsible as the creator of my reality, and I'm going to break the cycle right now. Let me go and do what I need to do. So invest in your energy, invest in mentorship. I'm fully for this. I'm a mentor myself. So I work with multidimensional women who are willing to listen to these kind of things. And so we must begin to work with this perspective, because otherwise it gets really difficult. Yeah. And we don't need difficult. If you want difficult, let it be your spiritual mastery. Let it be your spiritual mastery. If you want difficult, if you love the difficult, if you eat difficult for breakfast, let spiritual development, let spiritual remembrance be the difficult. Because hell, sometimes it gets difficult. Let's be real. But there is like, I spoke to my client about this as well. It's like, we have to do what we must. And we do it willingly. We do it with this sense of deep, deep trust when spirit leads us. And you want to sharpen that, hone that, okay? Susie says self-love, acceptance. Okay, all the love here. Okay. Feeling overwhelmed and sad all the time. There is not always something it is connected to. Yeah, okay. I wake up feeling anxious. I meditate every morning to try to soothe and let go. So, what I'm sensing here is that it's a very habitual pattern to go into my own experience. Maybe that's something you can resonate with, is that I used to have this a lot. Like I used to wake up feeling anxious, feeling like, oh my God, another day. Gosh, like, I wonder what's going to happen. And I would be really trying to numb it. Like I try to push it away by positivizing it. Yeah. And it obviously didn't work. And this has become a big part of my teaching of embodiment, because when you feel anxious, you really want to be with the feeling, but you want to be with the feeling inside your body. Does it make sense? Because what happens with a lot of meditation, I don't know what meditation you do, but if we are doing mostly meditations that are very new agey, and I'm just going to come out and say it, things that are about, I don't know, abundance, manifestation, manifest your love, manifest your big life, your blah blah blah, you know. A lot of times, you see, I have a lot clearing here as well. Huh? Take a sip of water. That's why I always have water. A lot of times, those kind of meditation don't actually give you the spaciousness to feel into what exactly that anxiety feels like in your body. It's oftentimes pushing it away, actually, or actually amplifying the wilderness in your mind, because the very first thing you gotta do is to clear the mind, because now you're in the mind and you're stuck in the mind and you think meditating is going to and again, I really don't know what meditation you're doing, so I'm just speaking about this in my own personal experience. So when I go into all those kind of meditation, and also without guidance, what the result is, it actually amplifies my ego. Okay, it amplifies the do, go, achieve, so that you can just run away from that feeling, so that you don't have to feel that feeling anymore. And I can tell you this, something that is so true about when we were as a soul, we signed a contract and said along the lines of like, I'm going to come to this earth, this Mother Gaia, and I'm going to shine my light as someone who fully embodied her divinity by fully embracing her anxiety, for example. For me, I went through many years of eating disorders, mainly because I didn't love myself. I was constantly seeking approvals and acknowledgements based on how I looked. So I thought that by appearing in a certain way, I would be accepted, right? And so that was my journey. And actually, I eventually had a moment where I could look at my astrological chart. When I learned to look at it, I realized that a lot of what I'm here to teach is about the body. Yeah, and I had to go through that to understand, right? I had to go through that, and I can tell you 100%, I was not in my body at all. I was running away all the time by working out, overworking, over-exercising, starving, because starving gives me a feeling. Otherwise, I was just numb. I was just walking through the earth, like, you know, how I can describe it, the vision that comes up is like, if you have ever been in New York City, like you go into the subway, like there's someone coming through and begging or crying and yelling, and you're just looking away and you're pretending nothing happened. Like that is the majority of the world. So you wonder, why am I overwhelmed and sad all the time? Why am I always anxious? You need to start to wonder, who is putting these words in? What if we grew up knowing that when we feel a charge, when we feel a contraction in our body, when we feel like in our body, when we feel something not well, like something's not sitting right, if we grew up being taught that, that's something awakening in you, let's have a look at it. You're going deeper into your wholeness. Imagine that kind of world that we're living in. If we lived in that world, and we are going to, we are the new ancestors. We are, like my client says, we are the new ancestors. You are the new ancestor. So can we drop the sword and start to remember? And this civilization has happened before. We have lived this way before. That is why we have a keen sense of deep knowing, like we remember. Yeah, we want, because we remember, it's in the field. Okay? So I want to share this. I know I've gone a little bit over time and maybe a little bit further up. But I really want to start to bring forward the teachings that this is so much more than, it is about self-love, but it's also so much more than that. There's a greater, I wouldn't say greater plan, but it's not really a plan, you know what I mean? But there's like a greater blueprint that you have to walk through, you have to have a direct contact with to live it. Because that really is what we are all here for. We are here to live this divine journey. And it can appear in many ways. Many ways. Many, many ways. Okay? Beautiful question, Amy. So, I speak from my own. So how do we open our spiritual eyes and see the blueprint? Yeah. So the blueprint is constantly evolving. So I often talk about this. If you want to know how you can tell that spirit is leading you, is oftentimes that you don't get to see the whole plan. You don't get to say, this is where it would lead exactly. You don't get to control it. But you'll get intuitive hits, you'll get signs. You open your eyes to see the signs. And the opening of the eyes is the first step. And the second thing is to actually follow through. To actually go and take that action. Because in this dimension, that's how it works, yeah? That's how it works. So can you see the difference? I'm not saying that you have to see the evidence to believe it. You have to believe it first, then that evidence will present itself. That's the most the simplest, the most easier to understand way I can explain it. Now, to open your spiritual eyes, or rather what I like to say, your sacred eyes, you have to firstly turn inward. You really have to commit, and I say this as someone who personally do this myself. There needs to be a commitment every single day, even every moment at the beginning actually. Every moment of recommitting to this, recommitting to the journey, recommitting to what I can't see yet, but I fully move with this because I know. And it's hard to describe it. It's like when I was working in Hong Kong and I felt like there was so much more, and yet I had no idea what I could do. I asked for guidance. I asked to be shown. And I was led to a tea ceremony. And in the tea ceremony, I heard a divine voice, tea spirit, speak to me. And she said, drop everything you know and go and serve tea. Now, at that point, if you're following my journey here, I could have said, I don't know, I have no idea, nobody in my family does this, like who am I to do this? And then just forget all about it, really. But instead, what happened was that I couldn't stop thinking about it. And eventually, what was shown to me, this is the intuitive hit. I remember so profoundly this moment where I was constantly talking about it, so much so that my colleague who was sitting next to me in the cubicle, she was like, why don't you just go to the tea center again and ask them, like, can they accept students and see what they say? No harm, right? Or you can even conduct an interview with them. And I was working in media, so I could easily have said like I can't ask all my questions and I'll publish it. I could have done that. So I thought, okay, yeah, sure, why not? I'll go. And I remember when I asked, I would love to learn everything about tea. Where do I start? Because it gave me this real sense of returning home that I've never had all my life. I've never recognized home. I thought home was somewhere else. That's why I traveled all around the world. I lived in different places that I thought was home. Until that moment where I was like, oh, this is how it feels like. And that home is not external, it's here. So I went to the center, I talked to the woman who served tea that day in the ceremony, and I asked her, how can I learn? And I really remember this. She said, all you have to do is come and sit and drink tea every day, as many times that you can come a week. If you want to come twice a day, so be it. That's how you learn the language of the spirit of tea. And I really want to bring this story forward today because the only way you can understand the language of spirit, of the sacred, the divine, is to be with it as much as you can, as often as you can. Be with that. Learn the language through being with it. Like someone you love, right? You want to be with someone you love as often as you want so that you can understand their little tics and foibles and how they speak, how they move around, how they live. It's the same thing with the divine, same thing with spirit. And I'll go as far to say that if you are called to cultivate this into pure mastery, I am here extending my invitation to you to explore Chadao with me, because it really is such a pure channel of transmission that it allows me as the guide and mentor to step out of the way, because Tea Spirit has a way of transmitting what needs to be shared with you and you only. And I am honored to be that mirror of consciousness. I'm honored to be the vessel to hold this crystalline spirit and guide, but ultimately you're the only one who can receive the transmission and walk with it. And it is a practice to really still the mind and open your heart. And I say this because your heart needs to be opened for the medicine to come in. If your heart is closed off, it will give you exactly what you are there for. It won't give you anything less or anything more. That's tea, yeah? That's really tea. And the ceremony is like a mytho poetry in motion. Like I said at the beginning, myths. They are keys to unlock your remembrance. Something happens in the ceremony, and you continue to deepen into this. And you have to stop saying that you can't. You really have to stop saying that you cannot. That's the start. Okay? Thank God, Susie. Yes. I love this. Yes. Actually, I highly recommend that. Go on a date with God, with the divine. Every day I'm in a date with spirit. Honestly, we have tea, we talk in deep reverent silence, And then we go out together, because what the whole point of a practice is that it infuses your life. It ripples out of you in everything that you do. Okay? It's not something you just have a meditation, you feel good, and then the next thing you know, you go out and then you're like a different person. No. Not like that. Okay? All right. Amy, I feel like I'm looking for a light on the path. I'm willing to take the steps. I just want the guidance to see a sign. I know it's what I'm supposed to do. I think that's, yes, Amy, highly recommend. And thank you so much for your beautiful donation. Just hit me up. You can check out the link in my bio and see what fits and works, what calls. Yeah. All right, my loves, it's raining and I have a big sheet hanging outside in my garden. So my husband is ringing my phone off the cuff because he wants me to take it out, take it back into the house. So I'm going to see that as a spirit sign to say goodbye for today. Thank you so much for staying on with me all the way. I really appreciate you. I adore you. I honor you. Wherever you are on your journey, know that you are so blessed. You are the divine. Make no mistake. There's no separation. And you're going to live out your expression as the divine today and every day. Okay? All right, my loves. Big kisses. Thank you. Bye-bye.